Okay.
I'll start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everybody for being here tonight. We appreciate you coming. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. The first set of minutes is the regular meeting from July 25th, 2017. So I had a chance to review those minutes.
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from July, which one are we doing? July 25th. The regular meeting for July 25th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next, the executive session minutes from July 25th, 2017.
Approval of the executive session from, motion to approve the executive session for July 25th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next is the special meeting from August 7th, 2017.
Motion to approve the special meeting for August 7th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And abstain. I welcome to abstain. All abstain. Next is the executive session from August 7th, 2017.
Motion to approve the executive session meeting for August 7th, 2017.
Second, can we make a friendly amendment? Can we say minutes and not meeting?
For what?
For
Minutes. My
Yeah.
motion, sorry.
Yeah, for executive session.
Any
Except
You want, yes,
Except regular.
yes.
All right. Now we
Did I say that on my
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Or say. All right. Next is chairman's report. I don't have anything to report this month. Next is the financial report. Brian and Adam, if you all want to walk us through the financial documents.
I believe everybody has this in their packet. Probably the first page is the bills of all. Shows that we've got three primary accounts: $27,000, $666.82 in our debt service account, $117,498.09 in the operating account, and $2,500 in our escrow account. If you'd like to see more details, there's the follow-up sheets.
What's the $3,000 equipment? What equipment do we have?
The train station.
The charge and stuff.
That's this.
What about the flags? Are they considered, or that's just an expense item? There's-
Somebody have any question about financial reports? All right, if there are no questions, we can go ahead and close the financial report. Next on the agenda is old business. First item is the assembly redevelopment. Is Mr. Howe here tonight?
Yes, Luke Howell, City of Dorville County Government is here.
Hold on.
Well, we had a meeting, we had a council meeting last night at 11:30, so I'm a little worse for wear, so I apologize beforehand. Well, Adam told me, asked me to just give y'all a brief report on what's going on and what we have in the works. I have a fact sheet, which I'll pass around right now, to just give some bullet points on each aspect of the project. Back in June, I guess you all know of the service centers project. Those bonds closed at the same time, on the same day that the infrastructure bonds closed. The CID issued 53 million bonds and that's going to cover the first tranche of infrastructure. And they're going to focus that on the Shanklin side, the New Beach Road side. We're going to, within that tranche, we're going to spend about $10 million on designs and plans for the biggest project associated with the city, and that's connecting Dorville and the MARTA stations to the actual site, because as you all know, it's completely isolated from the city of Doraville as is. And the MARTA station sits on the Peachtree Bridge about 30 feet below the site. So that's our biggest challenge, is connecting those dots. And that'll probably get picked up in the second tranche when we get ready for construction. Other than CERTA, there hasn't been a lot. We're talking to folks every day. There's not a lot that I can report on. Aviva, the apartment community provider, has a 6-story, 200-unit apartment complex plan. They're going through permitting. It's either a Regal settlement or an AMC settlement. They have a letter of intent with the developer. We're talking to at least 3 different state projects, state economic development projects. These are sort of in the same vein as Sir Simmons Research, Development, and Corporate Headquarters combined. Between the 3, we're talking 1,100 jobs. And they pay, the salary, the average salary ranges from 80 to 120. So these are going to be high quality jobs for the community. And I consider Chimley, Doraville pretty much the same, especially on that side of the tracks. It's basically, I think of it as a shambles market. Other than that, that's about it. This is, basically the information I share with my leadership. One of those state projects we've already provided an incentive package, and we came back and re-upped and revised that. So that's pretty serious. They're looking at, I think, the Charlotte Mecklenburg area. Because of the intricate infrastructure financing, we're not going to be able to throw money or abatements at these end users like a town that didn't have all the constraints. The CID, the TAD, it just makes everything legally, economically, and politically hard.
Sure.
But we did give citizens what they wanted. We're basically offering the same deal to this company. And from what I understand, the airport is really our biggest. PK is an asset, but Atlanta Hartsfield is putting us over the edge. In Charlotte, you can't get a direct flight to Charlotte from pretty much anywhere in the world. And it's the same with Nashville, and we're actually getting a lot of competition from. There's an area in northern Mississippi between Oxford and Memphis MSA that has stepped up and is competing, but they got some of the same constraints as Nashville or Charlotte when it comes to accessibility. Our biggest competitor we're finding out is Plano, Texas. They are a heavyweight, and it's nobody wants to locate Plano. It's Dallas. But they're challenged when it comes to transit. So that's the MARTA and Atlanta Hartsfield we're finding out is they want incentives. They want you to know that they want you, that we want them, and we're making sure to tell them this is all we can do. I think we offered this project 70% of what our DDA has in the bank, and then we made sure to tell them this is
all
pretty
it
much
is.
all we got. So we did that. We made our first offer the Friday before the July 4th holiday, and so they came back last week and they added some more employees and we revised it accordingly. But the caveat with these state projects is, they make their own decision on their own time. So you never know if they're going to come to fruition, and if they do, it could be a year from now. We initially met with the Sir Simmons site selector 18 months before we even started negotiating incentives, and that took 3 months. So you're all familiar with our DDA council, I think at best, in the state, and we're rest assured we're going to thread the needle, and we're going to do everything in our power to make deals happen. So the good thing about my leadership when it comes to high-paying jobs, now when it comes to apartments, you know, they're a little bit more discriminating about, you know, throwing out babies. So when it comes to high-paying jobs, are, you know, do what you got to do. So, one thing that I told Adam that we might need to coordinate on in the future is redundant power. That's an issue for these high-tech companies. There's a station on New Peachtree Road on our side of the tracks that could power the Vegas Strip if you needed it to. But they actually want power coming in from the Shanley side, the Peachtree Boulevard side, in case one station goes out, they got a backup. And so I haven't had a full-throated conversation with Georgia Power yet, but once I do, I may come back and talk to Adam and say maybe we need to have a coordinator. So that's it for right now. It's shaping up to be a really special site like we planned it 10 years ago.
Very exciting.
What's the timetable for the Citizens project? When's that going to start coming out of the ground, or what's the completion date they're looking at? And similarly, what's the timetable that you anticipate for the connection between or under the tracks?
Well, the problem with that, you know, we're going to have to use, when it comes to federal money, first of all, the administration is talking about infrastructure, but the cuts, his talk is not matching the cuts that we're seeing, or the cuts that are being proposed with the DOT. Tiger is in jeopardy, and Tiger, that would kill us. And we got now, before, everything was just speculative, John. You know, we got a great site, it's got all these assets, but nobody has signed on the dotted line. And so now that we got SERTA, we can leverage that in the grant money, but that's another thing we need to work on as in the North Cat community is talking to our congressmen and whoever we're listening about the need for DOT funding. We have to hold the line on that. But there's really no timetable. Best case scenario is going to cost $65 million. But we really don't know until we get done with the PE and the design. So who knows? But that's Doraville. I'm kind of jealous because y'all, it's basically Shanley East until we can make that connection. I think the Nexus project we're working on for Beaufort Highway may have a more profound effect on Doraville than Assembly will until we can make that very expensive connection under the railroad tracks. So, Simmons, their timeline, Integral actually, you know, they bought the site in 2014. They closed in October 2014, but they just now got their first land service permit to start the grading for that site. And Simmons hopes to be moved in by first quarter 2019.
Luke, can you talk a little bit about what the connection on Peachtree Road is going to look like? I mean, I haven't seen any final drawings. Is it going to be, where's the access going to be from the Shanley Road into your complex?
Well, that's probably a better question for my planner or Integral. But we had always, from what I recall, there was going to be two access points.
Okay. Like either side of the third rail?
Yeah, right where it is now, and that West Avenue that separates the car lot and that Peachtree industrial character from the rest of the site is going to connect Motors Industrial to Peachtree Road, and it'll sort of buffer the more urban part of the site and that car lot, which don't like Norwell is 3 miles. So there's going to be at least two what's the issue? But we're Integral's been a great partner, and I know that they work well with you all, and whatever y'all got planned. Adam said there's a plan about or something.
Well, our planning, our development department, the staff, the same company.
We got the same development
Yeah.
department, so that helps.
So they're coordinating something. I've seen a concept, but I think it's something we share a little bit. Since it's our road.
There was originally a new regional link plan that would connect Dunwoody and North Peachtree Road, hop the tracks where it's sort of grade level, and then end up back on Shalford Road, and then ultimately to 85. We planned that because the tunnel thing was planned originally by Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, CDDA gave them $5,000 in 2006 to do a basic redevelopment study, and that's probably the best one we've done. We've done 3 or 4 more since then, and that we got the best information out of that one. That's where the tunnel came from. Interval picked it up, and that's been their favorite. But this connection, this over-the-track regional connection, is something that came out of 2010 LCI, and it's still in the regional transportation program, and it's still a possibility. But we're going to focus on the tunnel right now because that's really our salvation of getting something going in our UV street shopping corridor.
Excellent. Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming tonight. I know it was late night, but we really appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to do any time. And we did pass our LCI last night. Now, actually, they basically said what Shannon said.
But the future highway?
The Future Highway LCI, they basically, their caveat was come back with additional plans and approval before we go out. So,
Awesome. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.
Go get some rest.
Appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is the Mid-City Stroll event. Adam, do you want to walk us through this?
Yes, in your packet, you'll see a map. Looks like this, but I have flyers too, so I'll pass these out. And you may see these in the mail. Actually, this is our development department has planned this, and this is a pretty cool event, we think, slated for September 7th, which is a Thursday night. Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30. And what this is the culmination of some design concepts for Peachtree Road and the rail trail, since they're pretty much follow the same corridor. And after the Chandler Rail Trail extension study last year and a half ago, that was completed, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose any momentum and start actually engineering the next sections of that, so that all the new development can be connected that way, and we can continue to get it up here at City Hall. So what you'll do that night is show up around Malone Drive to start at Hello Gorgeous. You'll see this map has some of the starting points. And we've got agreement from the new owner of the Senior Connections building to allow parking, but there's also, you'll notice this is a postcard that's being printed, and it actually has an Uber code too. So we encourage people to walk, bike, take MARTA, and then take Uber. The Uber code is good for $5 off, so that should get you anywhere chambly to that location, I guess, unless it's one of their, high hours, peak hours, I don't know. And then we've also gotten the MARTA. MARTA is on board with us doing some temporary installations around there, the green right there with all the trees. So we'll have some activities there, information about the corridor. And then as you just move up each block, there'll be stops along the way at certain businesses, hop sticks, Lutop. We want people to use this opportunity to get familiar with or refamiliarize themselves with the businesses. Union Hill and Lutop. Idea Shanley will be open if you want to duck inside and see some of the things that they're working on for arts. And then up the block on Shenandoah Way, there's a little parking lot on the corner of the Edward Jones Financial. That's actually city owned, so we might have some designs there for a little parklet or something. But anyway, there's just going to be a bunch of concept plans for people to offer their input. As much as possible, we'll try to have actually physical examples of the trash cans or benches or what we can get our hands. Sometimes it's a little hard to get our hands on some of that material. But also what this will be, we'll select installations of, I guess, what they call tactile urbanism. So we've got tape, we've got wood, and we've got Lowe's has actually given us some materials to create some benches where they maybe weren't some, to put stop signs and stop bars and crosswalks where there currently aren't any. So if you're a commuter, you may be a little frustrated from 5:30 to 8:30 driving through this corridor. But that's kind of the idea, right? Is to see how it operates with a stop sign at Miller, a stop sign at Pierce, a stop sign at Shenandoah Way. Because at the end of the day, we want this road to be that premier historic live work play area. We got transit right there. We got a cool design for a transit hub at Marta. So we're working with them on some improvements to the design of their station. That may be a long time in the future, but we're starting that conversation to say, hey, what if your station worked a little differently? What if you walked out and there were bike share racks, an Uber or Lyft ride share stop along the curb? And then we're long term, depending on how State-Law goes and how technology goes, is we'd really like to see some last mile connectivity with some autonomous vehicles that, right there at the entrance when you walk out. It's just all that transit, that would be what a transit hub would be. So I think you're going to like some of the designs, but we're ultimately there to see, how Shanley residents and businesses want to see things. So there's just some opportunity to pick up some park space along the way to keep that trail interesting, so it's not just a straight 12-foot wide concrete path. It's got some things to engage in on the way, and I think that'll help keep the businesses and the businesses fresh and the type of businesses that we want to see down here that activate the engaged trail. We also need some volunteers, and I thought I'd ask if anybody here would want to be a volunteer for. Let's see, 3 or 4 volunteers to help with the parking lot, concession stand, and rail trail crossing traffic guard. Nothing too intense. I mean, we'll have police here so that people understand that it's a special event and that you need to slow down if you're driving through. But just if anybody is available to help, not the whole 3 hours, but just at intervals to maybe give an assist, then let me know.
Are there going to be people at each of these stops?
Yeah.
So like if I'm a citizen, I'm strolling, this is not everyone meets as a group and goes together. It's a come as you go, right?
Yeah, you can, if you wanted to start down at southbound and work your way backwards, you can. It's not.
Yeah, and I'm saying like if I get there at 5:30, someone else gets at 6, and we're not waiting until that.
No, it's, as you get there.
As you get there.
I think we're saying, arrive to the welcome tent no later than 7:30 to make sure, it'll take you about an hour to do it all. So if you get there at 7:30, if you get there at 8, we can't promise that it won't be gone at southbound once you get there. And we're kind of leaving it up to the businesses if they want to do any kind of specials, to them. Your favorite restaurant may have something to do that night. But we will have these blue markers here on the map will be tents, and we'll have it southbound, we'll have it at Hopsticks too, I think, in Blue Dot, where staff will be collected to answer questions about what does this mean, and what are the plans you're going to do. So this should be a neat event.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Alan. Next item is the town center update. Our September 1st deadline is fast approaching. I know we have a couple of city tours coming up. We still need to schedule a finance committee meeting, which needs to be, let's see, it's the 22nd now, so we've got a week to get that done. Anybody have any comments or thoughts at this point?
I have a question. What happened to these September 1?
September 1, the LOI period is supposed to come to a close. We'll probably call a special call meeting, depending on how the next few city visits go, and then we'll make a decision on whether to offer them a memorandum of understanding for the next 6 months.
Should we just go ahead and tentatively set the meeting?
We can. I have a couple of things that I've got to be in Dallas next week, and I've got to be at a hearing on the 30th, so my calendar's been a little bit hectic, unusually hectic. Let's have Adam send out something to find out when the next available day is for a special call meeting, and we'll get that set up.
Okay.
I will share, Mason had sent an email, Mason about an August 30th date, which you're saying you're going to be out of town, so maybe.
I'll be in town on the 30th, but I have a hearing that morning, and I don't know.
Is there a reason why it has to be right then? Maybe on second, third, fourth, fifth?
It could be, I mean, first falls in the middle of the week, so if we had to have it Thursday or Friday, I think we could do that. The goal is to not slow things down, but we still have some things that we have to determine. And the main thing on the first is that that's the date that deliverables are due.
Yeah, that's a Friday.
So once we have the deliverables, we're probably gonna want to have, well, the first is Wednesday, right?
The first is a Friday.
Friday.
First is Friday.
You're right, sorry, okay,
That's
so,
fine.
if we have a few days to review the deliverables, I think that's the key to making a final decision. I don't want to push to have a vote before we get to review those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Just remember that Monday is holiday. Yeah, don't go scheduling anything.
Get holidays.
I mean, I'll be here if you want. I'm just saying, I don't think anyone else will.
No, I think we need to have more time than just the weekend to review whatever they produce for us.
From a general standpoint, I'm going to say that I've been disappointed in this process. I've been really disappointed in this process. Going back, just thinking about it, we talked about, I'm not a development expert. Certainly I've got some expertise in the field, but I'm not a developer. And I always anticipated that as we went through this process, the whole point was the developer would help guide us through the process, help lead us through the process. And frankly, I don't think there's been any leadership. So I actually went back through the RFP, the question and answer, read through the LOI, just to make sure that if what was in my head, aligned with that. And a lot of that, it wasn't even discussed who would be leading the process. One of the few things that was said was in the question and answer period, they talked about 5 to 10 meetings during the 45-day period. And as of now, we've had 2. And frankly, even those 2, it seems like they've been coordinated in an extraordinarily ad hoc manner. And I don't know how you can get to a design and a master plan as one of the deliverables when they've never talked to us. And so I guess that's my concern. I'm really concerned about how this process has gone through. And I've got enormous reservations about going through to the next phase where we actually have to start writing the check. And I don't know what the answer is. Maybe they'll blow my socks off with the deliverables. But it does seem like, we talked about, hey, let's get ready to go because we're going to have lots of meetings. There's going to be design meetings. There's going to be finance committee meetings. We're all going to be busy doing all this stuff. And it seems like the LOI is signed and then nothing. The kickoff sort of gets organized for 2 weeks later. And then, if this is a glimpse of how our working relationship is going to be throughout the rest of the process, that's not what I want at all. So, I've been thinking about this for the past week. This has been on my mind as we've been looking at this, and I just have really great concerns about how we're going to get to the end of this process when it's gone this poorly to begin with. So, we all may have different opinions of that, we all may have different ideas about where we're headed.
Actually, one more question on the first. What are sort of summary deliverables that we're going to be looking at September 1st?
I did not bring the list with me to move off.
Are we looking at a
Conceptual master plan, I think it's sort of a financing model.
Correct. It's 50,000 foot overview of what we could accomplish. The 45-day period intended to be a period to see if we can be on the same page in super high level terms. So your concerns are not unfounded. You and I have talked about this before. It may be that we need to have another meeting with Mason and voice these concerns.
Which is great, but we've got 10 days left in this 45-day period. 10 days. We've got a couple tours scheduled. But it feels like these are all happening at the very end of the process with no opportunity for feedback to help feed into the overall 50,000 foot master plan. I mean,
Agreed?
Well, but I think that feedback comes down the road. However, have we, I don't like hearing, and I do complain about the very short notification for the second tour, which is, I mean, I understand that they're busy, but so are all of us. And there's no way that I can take off a day. I have to schedule my work in advance, and there's no way that I can take off a day at that short of a notice. Already stretched it to be taken Thursday off. So I don't like that, but also it does seem like they have been, their excuse is that they are busy. And if they're too busy to give us the attention that we need, then they're too busy.
Well, the things we can do, we can always talk about extending.
Have you, is that what they expressed to you? Because I haven't had a conversation with them. They expressed that they're too busy.
I've never had Mason tell me that they were too busy. But I get the sense they got a lot going on. So, I mean, I think these are questions we need to present to them. We can see how the next 10 days goes. We can offer to extend the LOI period. We can have a special health meeting, or we can, we're not bound to do anything past this 45 days. I carried in the story, but we're not bound to do anything.
that was the whole idea.
That's correct. So, think about what we want to do, and then, let's figure out how we can arrive at consensus on it.
I think it would make sense to extend the period. I mean, I know we're all wanting to get the ball going and all that, but I hear Brian's concerns, and, at this point, the alternative is saying, thanks guys, but no thanks, and start all the way back at the beginning. And I would rather say, hey, listen, we're not happy with the way y'all done it to this point. We're going to extend this for another 15 days or however long we feel is necessary. And y'all need to step up your game and see what they do.
It seems to me like we should have, but let's go forward, we should go ahead and set meeting days. I feel like we should set, we're going to meet every Monday until we get to this point. And yes, we need some leadership coming out of them, but then also, okay, what's not getting answered? Let's put that on the agenda for our monthly, our weekly Monday meeting, because this is a very important thing. We should be already have our date book, if you will, our dance list, if you will, set out for the whole 45-day period. It wasn't. You're right, we haven't had 30 meetings.
If we're going to extend it, I think we need to be really specific about what we want them to deliver during that period. Otherwise, the likelihood is we'll, 30 days later, whatever, we'll be talking about this again.
From my standpoint, I mean, this was sort of like the dating period. We're seeing how well we work together. And frankly, if we haven't worked well enough together at the end of 45 days to make a decision, I don't think we're going to. And frankly, unless they knock my socks off with their deliverables, I'm not going to vote in favor of an extension or of a continuation to any further relationship. I think I would much rather, I hate wasting time, but I would much rather step back, get the right partner, and then move forward again. And maybe working with the developer is the wrong process. I've got my concerns. I'll be blunt. I had my concerns about that up front. But that's just where I'm at right now.
Okay. What is everybody thinking about having a meeting on Monday? That's the 28th.
I don't think there's a problem.
Yeah, this would be the finance meeting.
Yeah. Let's take this finance and process plan.
So Monday would be 20th, the finance committee meeting, follow-up would be the first, would be their presentation of deliverables. I think before we get one way or the other, in my mind, it makes sense to, let's just have these meetings, let's see what they bring to the table, and then, sort of step back
6:30?
Monday at 6:30, everybody.
Okay.
And so, are we gonna stick with that Friday the 1st for their, or?
That's what the deliverables are doing. I would say, I mean, let's,
So,
They haven't asked us for an extension on that, I don't know.
so there's gonna be an actual meeting, or they're just sending us stuff?
I think they're just sending us stuff. They haven't requested.
Okay, no, that's fine. I
Yeah.
was just thinking in my head, do I need to put some on for you? But you're saying there's not gonna be any meeting,
Right.
it'll just be them sending stuff. Then we can digest that over the long 3-day weekend, and then what? Do we
And
have
then
a
we'll-
follow-up meeting after the holiday?
I think we'll have to.
Do we want to go ahead and
Let's
set
set
that
it,
now?
please.
Let's set it now.
Unless I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like Leslie, let's plan this out,
Yeah,
you know? You can't tell me on a Monday that we gotta meet on Wednesday.
right.
We can set for the 4th.
We can't do it on the 7th, because
That's right.
that's the mid-city stroll.
is it the
Yes.
Tuesday the 5th?
Tuesday, the 5th?
Let's do that. Adam, what's available space-wise?
You mean for here or the civic center?
Yeah,
I'll have to check and see if there are 4 dates, but I'll do that, do that after the meeting tomorrow morning.
okay.
Is there a reason not to be here?
Let's set tentatively for here, and then if we feel like, it's always been crowded with the council members here, they don't want to be here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's your day. Here.
All right. 6:30. All right, that sounds good. Anything else on the town center? All right, let's go on to new business. We have, Peachtree Station, the assignment of bonds, and other bond documents. Adam, you want to walk us through that?
I do know, walk you right to Dan McRae. You can explain. That sounds
There you go. Yes.
That was a much shorter trip than my trip to Shannon. Well, we have a request from our development and our bond lessee to permit the assignment of the bond makes we have the bond documents to purchase a position. The way that our bond documents are set up, that takes the consent of the board. And these are our standard documents that have been reviewed by the developer. And as far as we're concerned, it's the will of the authority. It's time to go in and be voting to authorize the chair to execute the documents that were distributed.
Who's Bob?
Adam, you want to, because I know David and I know about this, you want to tell everyone else?
Or you probably know more than I do at this point since I missed that meeting, but the Peachtree Station developer, S.J. Collins, as a buyer for the site, for the whole food site, essentially, Peachtree Station. And so they want to, an institutional investor, I guess, that's what it is.
Well, we were told down, if they disclosed all that to you?
I think I have that information.
What David and I were told was it's the New Mexico teachers pension.
Right.
Well, yes, I mean, who, obviously somebody would stay and manage the property, because that's, who's,
Yeah, I think they're called Foundry Commercial, that doesn't sound, but this handles what the, I don't know what they do or saying or not, that's probably not in these docs, but there is somebody that, yeah, that had, during their meeting stuff, that they were making a decision on the question about our source. It wasn't SJ Coffee, so I thought it was,
And so we had the opportunity to approve an assignment over, we certainly don't have to if we didn't like whoever the buyer's going to be, but this sounds like a reputable, investment sort of purchaser, so I don't know that we have an issue on that. I think we have some questions that we have to answer about whether all the work has been done according to zoning requirements. I know the building's open, but let's make sure everything's done before we hand it over. Dan, do they have to cover costs associated with us doing the assignment documents or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Condition.
Okay.
So is that a government entity?
so actually,
It's a pension, it's a teacher pension. They're probably-
It's a teacher. but that would
The
be.
state issues.
State, yeah.
And from my experiences at, doing financial planning and stuff, most of these large strategic pensions, they want to hold a certain amount of real estate in their portfolio. And so they, instead of going out and building and being developers, they wait until they see opportunities like this.
And that certainly is the norm for a developer to get the project done in place.
So to dig in a little bit more on your question about the zoning, what do the documents say about substantial conformity to zoning, or what we don't want to deal with is if there's something that's out there, and then we got this group in New Mexico, there's a site-related issue or something. Is there something we need to get the zoning verification from our development department prior to ratification of this?
If you want confirmation on that, you should, because the transfer documents don't do anything with the underlying documents. The only thing we did do was to get the estimate to affirmatively agree to the brownfield remediation requirements that we got in there. And they would be bound by that anyway, it's just better for them to know specifically and agree specifically. There's nothing else. The bond lease and documents that we're putting in the closing.
Are there any other transaction fees that can be applied to this, or other than the cost of the
Some authorities that charge the approval of transactions and transfers, they're not required. Those county charges a flat fee, I think, $500.
Wow.
Is that something we have to approve, or is that something that we should approve before now?
It doesn't have to be standing policy, it can be another condition.
Okay. All right.
And I think you told us that before, just to make sure, the language we have in there that required them to have the Whole Foods and nothing else, that will continue if the new owner says, hey, we're going to change that to a Winn-Dixie, they lose. Right?
We have our remedies that were provided in the original language. None of those are changed.
None of that will change.
What's the timeline for executing the assignment? Is it ASAP?
Well, I don't know that it's one of those urgent things, but the business will do things urgent. I think we're ready to do it.
Certainly, yesterday, it's payday, close to it.
So to Adam, to David's question before, how do we know that they're finished? Do we need something from the development department?
I guess what you're saying is you could approve it subject to certain conditions.
Condition
We could ask development to provide certification that they've met the requirements of the zoning.
If they're CO,
Their CO,
that
yeah.
would be it.
And I can't recall if well, there's a few spaces that aren't CO'd, so do you want to wait, do you want to get, is that the thing, to get all this, not only Starbucks is
I don't
CO?
think so. I think a reasonable, I think the deal is contingent on the anchor Whole Foods. I don't know what the percentage of the GLA is, but 75%, 85%, 95%, that's reasonably complete stabilized. I mean, that would be a reasonable point where, sell the transfer title. I wouldn't see any concerns from
There's also a question because after, way after everything was approved in the construction, they did install, I guess, a 25 to 30,000 gallon sewer tank that now is between the uses and the sewer outflow. But from the city's perspective, we're a little interested in how those get decommissioned, if at all, at some point. I mean, I don't know how that is covered. Obviously, it's their responsibility, but that's something that we haven't really gotten satisfaction. The county has something that's over either.
The documents required to comply with the law. If it's not law, it's not required. There will be a factual requirement.
So those won't just be used indefinitely? They'll actually stop using them at some point?
Those are the words that have been spoken.
But at some point, the sewer system would be improved, and you may not have to before, I don't know if it's expensive to take it all out until it fails or something, until it's going to begin to follow the site. But you turn the valve off on it, and
So, the, I don't know that much about how all this stuff works, but I am definitely concerned about the management company we would inherit, they would inherit, to be sure that it is they seek high quality tenants. And is there anything that speaks to that?
There's not in the transfer agreements. And in fact, we don't normally get into how a prospect manages the business. We did to some extent by marketing for the foods operation, markets. But there's a covenant that the project will be operated as a project under the downtown development fund, so I'll use that. But there's not a quality standard that they have to meet in terms of who manages them, about the operation.
Okay.
So let's move to, next.
Do we want to add a fee like you were talking about before? A transfer fee?
Frankly, I like the idea of it. I don't necessarily, I would prefer that if we establish a policy, whether it's 10 to 12% or whatever is reasonable, based on the deal, certainly.
How much work goes into the transfer on our part?
Well, they're paying the attorney fees anyway.
Yeah, we're not.
It's the consideration that you're giving to it today, and any additional work on the part of the DDA members or staff to follow up on some of these things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You
So I
said the
think
city
it's
would
worth
charge
establishing
$8,500.
there's
The
no
full
reason
county.
The Fulton County charges $8,500, a flat fee.
I think that's the right number.
I still we have a flat fee. It doesn't have to be, we're not, big time. A few, $2,000, $3,000.
Let's go.
$5,000.
Do we make it a part of this process, or do we make it a part of the future process?
No, I think it needs to be motioned and
I
implemented.
think Dan said reasons to that.
Put it in today.
Market.
Is that what you think?
Okay.
We need a motion.
Two motions.
Are there any other conditions? We talked about management, we talked about sewer, we talked about zoning.
Right, and let's approve this contingent upon answering those questions. We're not authorizing it to sign tonight.
We just want to know who the company is.
What we're going to admire is supervisors are assets that they have. I'd like to know a little bit more about who's going to be having our Whole Foods.
So at this point,
I assume that Bedford, I assume that Bedford best and final, and this is getting awarded and all that kind of stuff. They're shipping sale, and they're just getting ready to put it under contract.
This is a negotiated by the organization. If the company had gone back with a bond transaction, or the developer had gone with a bond transaction, so we wouldn't have any say at all in any of these things. And we are providing incentives, so we're kind of a partner.
Right.
There's no problem at all with answering these questions.
Yeah.
We do want to be, we don't want to go too far in interjecting ourselves in private business. That becomes a disincentive.
Yep.
But maybe I could suggest that we approve the condition on a $5,000 transfer fee, and these matters be resolved to the satisfaction of the chair.
Yep.
They got 12.3 billion in assets.
Pat, is there any
That's a good start.
trail
I'm just,
that they have been required to do that's not done yet?
They provided their connection
Mhm.
that they did on East Road. I think it's a wider style than
Yeah.
typical. And then the real, I think they call this on their plans as a trailhead, but it's the parking lot of all on East Road, so kind of it's there.
Yeah, okay.
But that's where it terminates, right, on our concept.
yeah, it's going to be
So we got work to do to get it connected, but no farther than that.
And then the Peachtree Boulevard sidewalk is complete. When we do our part of it, then
Yeah, then that.
they
yeah,
don't
it
have
is.
to do it. Okay, all right.
restate the motion again. Didn't make a motion.
I don't think anybody's made it yet.
So we do two, right?
Is it two motions or just one?
One for the fee and
You could move to authorize the transfer of the chairman to execute the documents, subject to the pay of the $5,000 transfer fee, and subject to the satisfaction of the chair with any due diligence issues in the issue pursuit.
I motion what he said.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Did you get all that, Ronnie, or did you
I'll come back to
repeat it?
with Brian unless, yes. Thanks.
All right.
Well, while we're on a similar topic, do we, I mean, I know for commercial real estate like this, it's absolutely normal for developers that once they get the project done. Do we know where the homestead sits? You know, I guess, is it normal for the other projects that we're going to be a part of that get flipped as well? Or?
I wouldn't be surprised. Not many developers buy or build and hold long term. And it is normal to make a sale of something like a pension fund, which are real estate, asset real estate investors. Some buy and hold, or build and hold, but not that many. Our documents, a lot of, for example, we talked about Fulton County, their documents contain built-in exemptions, transfers to professional real estate developers and professionals in the real estate industry, like developers. And if you're an investor, there's some minimum net worth requirements and that sort of thing. But for 99% plus of Fulton County transactions, there's no requirement to go back to the Fulton County Development Authority to get approval. And a lot of those deals, there's a heavy secondary market in bonding and projects and bond deals in Fulton County. We have a more targeted abatement policy in that our incentives are stronger than Fulton County's are. And because of that, our documents are stronger. So if the estate folks want to sell by transfer of documents, they have to come back to somebody wanting to just sell the shares in the entity.
All right. Next on the agenda is SLX Nissan. We have a proposed amendment to the lease, underwriter security instrument, and indemnity and guarantee agreement. With us tonight, we have Robert Reard.
Yes.
Reard, hi, welcome.
Hey.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you are looking for and where we're trying to go with this?
Sure. So our client is here too, and I represent the developer here along with my partner, Sonny Morris. So we, as all of you know, this project's moving forward. Secured commitment for HUD insured financing, which is great. Just under $75 million. So as part of the HUD financing, you know, they're looking for two things, and we've been back and forth on a lot of this for several weeks, not months. But as part of that, they require that the fee estate, which the development authority owns, the fee estate, ground lessor, on the bond deal that closed in December, they require that the fee estate be joined in the security instrument, which is the leasehold mortgage that the HUD lender will enter into with the developer. And they also require, per their language, certain amendments to the lease agreement, which is in place with the development authority as of December, to contemplate certain, you know, their sort of, you know, HUD provisions, for lack of a better word. I think we tried to, back when the deal closed, there were some HUD provisions contemplated in there, but they have served up sort of, this is what the language that we require, this is the language, the fee joinder that we require. HUD is not movable on a lot of fronts, as you might imagine. And so we've tried to assist in sort of pushing this forward and coming up with some solutions that we understand there's some language, and Dan and others have provided previously, you know, comments to earlier versions of the rider to the security instrument, because the security instrument, the rider itself basically states that the development authority will subordinate its fee interest as well as the leasehold interest is secured to the HUD lender, will subordinate its interest and rights under its lease to the lender. In your lease agreement, there, and Dan can speak to this, this, there are certain unassigned rights. And so that's one of the sort of, that's one of the problems we're trying to handle. If you go down sort of what are unassigned rights, and obviously the Development Authority, which is a facilitator of this project, helping bring the business to Chamblee through its incentive program. There are certain things under the lease that are defined unassigned rights as fees, making sure certain limitations of liabilities remain, et cetera. So we've served up the part of the third piece of this, which is not a HUD requirement. We're trying to stick with their two required documents, but we're offering an indemnity and a guarantee to the Development Authority to sort of cover those gaps where there might be gaps under any rights that you may think you might be giving away by executing the sort of HUD dictated documents. And that's where we are. We've got a short time frame. We've got most of the documentation. We're submitting a sort of final legal package to HUD. I think our deadline is now the end of this week. And these are sort of two pieces that remain. So relatively urgent time frame at this point. And we can answer any of the questions about the project or where we are. Or, I don't know, Dan, if I stated sort of try to address what the concerns of the authority have been through this process.
I was gonna ask Dan to walk through his thoughts on the proposal. I know we talked about it yesterday, I just want to have everybody to hear kind of what the recommendation for.
Well, that background information does cover that. It, to me, is unusual to have a lender make the demands that it is making. I don't recall ever having seen it in one of the deals. I don't see every deal I wish it did. Maybe somebody somewhere has done it, and I mean by somebody in development. There are 2 or 3 issues that we have to be careful of. One is a gratuities issue. We can't step in and answer for somebody else's debt, and we can't confer against gratuities. The documents are worded such that virtually all of that concern has been taken care of, and that we are excluded. We don't have liability. There is an open issue to me about the title, state title, what is asking us to make title warranties. Again, the recourse is supposed to be non-recourse to us, it's recourse against the property. But still, we don't like to make perhaps some warranties that aren't true. We might, in severe cases, consider fraudulent, so it isn't accurate. Title insurance is the answer to that. There are title exceptions, and we haven't seen the final policies, so I can't sign off on that. The critical issue for us is our unassigned rights. We certainly have to make it clear that our MOU is not swept up in any of this. I think that's our right to enforce the legal constraint. The unassigned rights themselves are things like expenses being paid and indemnification against claim. So the suggestions that we made, as a board suggestion, to set a 90% vote is that we accept a personal indemnity from the principal and the owner based on financial statements that were provided to us from the association without a supporting organization and sign it. So if, first of all, this is not something that the DDA is obligated to do at all. I did what I thought I could do on our mutual behalf at the end of the year when I started. We like the development of the project, therefore we want to go out with we have to keep in mind the interest of the DDA and the interest of the public, because the DDA is a public body. We don't have any business with the DDA in trouble for our city. We have to be very careful. I don't think that I can recommend approval of the documents that were sent to us under the circumstances. Insurance policy, but something that you sign off on. The indemnity is not the standard commercial guarantee or indemnity that you expect. It's got that thing, so it's and I'm not a banker, I'm just a lawyer. depends on weighing the ability of the project entity to pay the claim against the ability of the individual to pay a claim. And we're not talking about small claims, it's small claim portion. It's an unexpected, but we never out of the blue, which involves both questions of net worth and liquidity. Again, I'm not able to say this is bad. I can tell you that there are things that you don't have to think too much about as to whether it would actually be there if you needed it. And one of those is a standby letter of credit from the commercial bank. You know, that we have in our deals provision for liquidity reserve, and that can be a letter of credit in cash. But the standby letter of credit where you know that a bank is regulated is good for X number of dollars is much different than a personal indemnity based on balance sheet. So I'm not arguing against trying to help the project. I think we should to the extent we can. But first of all, we've been asked to do something that in my experience is unusual. Sadly, the documents to me are not what they should be. And because of that, I think our rules.
So everybody understands what we're talking about here is weakening our position in this deal.
I don't understand, maybe help me understand the personal guarantee. What is the personal guarantee or the financial guarantee from the principals? What are you indemnifying the principal? What does the principal indemnify the DDA against?
Well, the intent, and to speak to Dan, I mean, that we did serve up a document, but we would certainly entertain any, I mean, that was just any comments or changes or what the DDA might want, and form we would entertain within the form of that activity. But the goal there was to sort of solve the issue that we couldn't get past with HUD currently, which is assigning sort of all of the rights in the fee, which would include theoretically those rights that are unassigned, which if there was some gap for whether it's payment of fees or some liability that the DDA thought of being exposed to, we were offering to serve up an indemnity guarantee to cover any of that.
How much money is that we're talking about realistically?
From the inventory, or I mean, I don't know what a claim could be. I mean, if it's a claim for fees that were owed to the development, it could be anything from, you know, you had some fees that needed fees and expenses that needed to be paid to, you know, potentially, you know, I don't know, whatever it might be.
There's a catastrophic construction defect with the property that requires it for entirely to be good. You know, where somebody gets hurt. I mean, you're looking at, but you're tens of millions of dollars.
At that point, I mean, at that point, keep in mind, if the lender exercises its right under the security instrument and the fee joinder development for it, will no longer be, unless they keep the deal alive, it will no longer be in property, potentially. So, I mean, I think but the goal is to sort of cover anything that might, you know, that the DDA thought they might be exposed to. And on the title front, I will say, I do think Dan is right. There's a rep that you have good title to that. I think that is one area where we can get somewhere, which we've discussed with HUD. I mean, I think we can limit that to what you can say, frankly. That is one issue that I think we can resolve, for sure.
And we have insurance.
And we will have title insurance policy, property insurance and general liability insurance, et cetera, with the DDA is named as an additional insurer.
Which covers both the construction period
I mean, it's the
as
same.
well as after completion.
So why are we hearing about this 10 months into the deal at the last minute when documents are going to be signed in a week? I mean, frankly, that's not the time to ask us to change, to significantly weaken our position of security that we negotiated many months ago, and we spent many months negotiating those provisions.
Well, I don't know when HUD first got involved, but I'll let Sonny speak because I haven't been involved the whole time. But the only reason we're here now at this point, I mean, we have pushed HUD as much as you can try to push them, and the response has been the same. These are our standard documents, and so we've been trying to facilitate a solution, frankly, in between, you know, on behalf of our client, keep this moving. So that's just where we are. We finally got a commitment from HUD to move this forward, and one of their conditions were the rider to security instrument and ground lease amendment as proposed.
So
Without changes.
So what happens to your project at least in
We wouldn't be able to build it.
You would be able to finance your project.
Right. So the essence of what we're trying to do is recognize the position of the DDA as a facilitator of the transaction and provide all the insurance that's required, owner's insurance, liability insurance, casualty insurance, naming the DDA as the named insured. There's a $15 million investment going into the property that's being made by the Hickman family. That entity, that SLX entity, will indemnify the DDA. In addition, we're suggesting that the principal behind that, Linda Hickman, will individually indemnify the DDA. And this indemnity agreement is not subject to the loan documents and would survive foreclosure of the property. So it appears to us to be additional benefits to the DDA. And we have struggled a lot with HUD to try to get them to give us some leniency. And they're just beyond obstinate.
Is HUD the only lender that can do this deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's the amount of equity which is in the deal. And we already signed a commitment with HUD. And the bonds that are going to be issued, the J-Bank certificates, we have a timetable to deliver on those certificates because we had to lock the interest rate in.
So why did that come up last year during the negotiation of the MOU? If you'd already locked in the bonds?
We had not locked in the bonds at the MOU. We locked them in after HUD committed the loan. We then rate locked at that point in time, which was maybe 21 days ago.
Okay, so the indemnification is only as good as the amount of money behind it, which means the value of SLX and the value of the indemnity work. I don't want to say what that amount is out loud, but it seems to me that it's less than the value of the project.
But you get the project as well. No, we're not taking anything away.
You're moving us down the ladder of secured interests by putting us behind HUD.
But
By
you were anyway.
No. We're first in line. Isn't that right, Dan?
This is an express subordination of our rights to be identified as the rights of HUD forecloses on.
Okay. But until we approve, we're not behind HUD. Okay. Right. So we
That's
are
right.
giving up something significant. if they
Well, it was
work with us.
anticipated, I believe, that we would have a project and we would have a subordinated land lease. And that, I mean, the purpose of getting the tax abatement was to be able to build the project. And it was also known that we were getting HUD financing. Now, nobody anticipated the intransigence of the HUD regulators. And you will have the indemnity of the entity that is building the project. In addition, we're offering the indemnity of the principal individually. And the indemnity primarily relates to payment of fees, payment of expenses, payment of any litigation costs. In addition to that, we've got casualty insurance, property insurance, all kinds of insurance. And there's $100,000 already in deposit under the lease to cover any outstanding indemnity obligations.
So if there is a catastrophic failure of a construction defect,
Is insured during construction and for a 10-year period after construction, and you're named insured on that policy.
but this is a 20-year project.
But we will, once the project period for claims on construction runs in Georgia for 10 years.
Okay.
And then thereafter, you have your operational insurance, permanent insurance.
And under
What
the lease,
happens in liability?
we're required to provide insurance
which we will provide. We will meet whatever standard there is under the lease.
Well, what is the amount of insurance under the lease? How much coverage do you have to provide?
Under the lease, we have to provide workers' compensation coverage, repair and replacement, not less than 100% of the actual cost of replacement of the building. Comprehensive general liability insurance, providing insurance with deductible provisions not to exceed $250,000 to the extent of not less than $1 million per occurrence against liability. It goes on with a million and a half, a page and a half. But we've got a certificate of insurance already in place that meets these requirements.
Understanding that to be true, you're asking us to take on more risk than what those original provisions provided for. That's not unlimited insurance. You just said it was no less than $1 million liability coverage. If you present us with a certificate of liability coverage for $1 million and there's a claim in excess of that, then we're relying on the personal indemnification. Is that correct?
No, we have not only the base coverage, we have an umbrella policy, and we're buying an owner-contractor wrap policy, which covers the statutes as far as any warranty claims with defects. It's prepaid at the closing, so there's not a question if the contractor goes broke 5 years from now and does not make payments on his liability policy, that there's exposure there. So this is all prepaid, and we have the base insurance plus a $10 million umbrella. In addition, we have builder's risk policy that covers if the property burns down, it's full 100% coverage on the property. And then once it's complete, and you get into the operational phase of the project, you have your hazard insurance to cover the same thing if the building burns down, or if there's any slip and fall accidents on the property that are covered by the general liability through operations. So we're as much concerned as you are about having adequate insurance to protect us. You know, what we've also been told is that if there's an issue, you know, the bonds could be collapsed with a payment of what, $1? $100.
Well, if we could only collapse the claims for $1.
Well, I think there's a misunderstanding. By having unsigned rights, the DDA was preserving its rights to enforce indemnities against SLX.
Right.
Because your HUD won't agree to the unassigned reservation in the lease, we're stepping back and giving you another document that indemnifies you from the same things you're trying to reserve against in the unassigned rights. And in addition, we're having that indemnity guarantee by Linda Hickman.
And I understand that, and I do appreciate what you're trying to do, but
So,
I'm having a hard time getting my head around the value of those indemnifications.
but we're offering you an indemnification you didn't have.
I understand that.
Still
You're
give
taking us
you
a step
SLX.
away from. So if we're looking at, call it a perfect deal, we're taking steps away from that perfect deal. We're also modifying the pattern that we've established for these MOUs. You're asking us to accept more risk. So understanding you're giving us an indemnification, you're not giving us more by giving us an indemnification. You are taking away and then trying to get back some. That's by definition what indemnification is.
Well, I'm sorry, but I disagree.
Okay.
The tenant, SLX, indemnifies you in the lease.
That's what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, that, under the concept of unassigned rights, would not have been assigned and would have remained an indemnity between DDA and SLX.
Right.
Right? So because we can't do the unassigned rights, we're stepping away from the loan documents and giving you an indemnity from SLX,
Same thing.
which is what you had, plus to give you assurance that we're not trying to do anything to cause you liability. We've offered the principal's indemnity on top of that.
Is
So-
it accurate, is it accurate to say that we signed these documents, if ever HUD wanted, their claim to it would be superior to our claim under the unassigned rights?
But HUD doesn't have the right to interfere with the indemnity between Linda Hickman and
This
SLX.
is to your point about us having two things instead of one. We have one thing, and that's the indemnity, and that's David.
Okay, what do we have to do to fix this? I mean, what can we do? I know we can strengthen the indemnity, but I'm not sure we can get around the fact that indemnity is only an indemnity agreement. It's a weaker position than what we had. I don't know how we.
It's not.
I don't think, I won't speak for anyone else, but I don't think I fully understand what, if you guys are arguing in my issue, what exactly you're asking us to make a decision on. I mean, maybe you understand that I'm a little foggy on this. Is this something we can table and study more and make more educated?
I think we're gonna have to. I know you've got a timeline to meet, but there isn't any way we can make a decision on this at this meeting, I don't think.
Dan, is your main concern the lack of meat in the financial statements that you got?
It's two things. The wording of the indemnity that you proposed, I think, is inadequate. If we are giving up a full indemnity, we should give a full indemnity. And that indemnity is coming from a natural person. They die, move away, whatever. And in addition to that issue, you've got the issue of how difficult and how practical it is realizing that indemnity with a major claim. I'm not talking about anything. So I think that if we're going to rely on that, then we need to have somebody whose business it is to back up the financial statements, give us some advice. My preference would be not to have to do that because that is not our business. We're not bankers. But to have a bank give us a stand by their credit and the apple.
What would that be?
That's something that takes some thought. I'm not thinking as low as $1 billion or as high as $100 million. That also is something that we might take some advice from an insurance broker or a banker or somebody. Well, it is, in fairness, it is true that without this, we wouldn't have recourse against the project entity, subject to whatever debts on it and its net worth is, whatever the difference is between its liability and its assets. So it's not like if we've got a golden insurance policy, being able to trade one, being asked to trade one risk for the other.
If I can butt in there, we're giving you the SLX indemnity, just not in the form of unassigned rights. We're in addition offering Linda's guarantee or indemnity of that indemnity. So in fairness, I don't see that you're losing anything.
I don't see it the same way, and if it is the same way, then we ought to be able to keep the carve-outs of the unassigned rights and not split it.
I'm trying to give you the same unassigned rights outside the loan documents, so that you're not one bit worse off than you were under the loan documents.
So, can I have a question, just for my curiosity, if there's financing in place prior to the lease, what does that circumstance come up? Because clearly the lease would be subordinate to an existing security. What happens in that instance?
We have indemnities in the MOU as well for that matter, but our indemnities in the lease, when the lease is assigned, the indemnities in the unassigned rights are not assigned, they are retained as the issue.
And we're trying to give you the same bundle of rights that you had. Just, I'll do about anything I need to do to try to convince you.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I think we need to table it this month until next month. I think we need to work some more on the documents in order to get Dan to a place where he's comfortable to make a recommendation that we can move forward on it. To be really clear to your point, we've got a situation where the SLX has come to us and wants a modification, and our lawyer is very clearly giving us a signal that he does not approve that modification. I'm not terribly comfortable with it either, but when Dan says he's not comfortable with it and voices that kind of concern, I'm not interested in voting against that. Now, if there's a way around it, and you propose one, which is the letter of credit, then why don't we work on trying to get that letter of credit in place?
We can work on that. But I'd love the opportunity to meet with Dan, go over this in detail, and meet whatever his objections are, which I think if we all look at it fairly, the bundle of rights that you had is the same bundle of rights that you have in our proposal. I don't think you lost one thing. But I can take the time to meet with Dan, to try to persuade him with it.
Okay. So,
Could you repeat about the letter of credit? I didn't understand that.
so the option is that we have a private financial statement to back an indemnity by one person, that person being Linda Hickman. The position I think that our attorney is recommending is that we have a letter of credit from a banking institution to back something like what we're talking about here. That's just one proposal, one avenue.
And what's the exposure that is looking to cover?
I think, well, that was the kind of the question I asked a few minutes ago, and no one really had a number to throw out. So I think these are things we have to work on. I think we can't approve this tonight, but
Because we're really under the gun if we don't get this in Friday. And this has been going on for 2 months, 2.5 months.
I understand it's our first time here.
No. Our council has been working with the outside council for 2.5 months, and documents are going back and forth. They went to HUD Washington, HUD Atlanta, back and forth. We did our best to try and convince HUD.
Absolutely.
I
I appreciate how hard.
And we are really under the gun. We got a contractor on site, building permits are full tomorrow.
Well, in fact, let's take that into consideration. We understand that you're in a hurry. I would suggest a meeting between you and you, however, with in mind that you're not just trying to convince Dan that you're right, but you're trying to find a solution to our problems,
We're
to
trying
our objections.
We understand that you are facilitating a transaction and shouldn't take financial liability or exposure. We're trying to address that issue straightforward.
I mean, the indemnity guarantee was not part of it. That's our attempt. And if that needs to be strengthened, we're
But
trying.
our lawyer is telling us that we need better protection than so far, than what you have proposed. And if we can't come up with that, we're not going to be comfortable with this. And I understand you've got a Friday deadline, so it sounds to me like you need to have a meeting real soon.
I can meet it tonight or tomorrow, Friday.
It's up to Mr. McCray.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
We have I don't see any way Friday's going to work, because even if they meet, we're not meeting again. The earliest we're meeting again is next Monday, even though that's not a regular meeting, it's supposed to be town center. We are going to be together as a body, correct?
We are, but I think that's a steep order from Tuesday to Monday.
So I was just saying, if they can work something out, we are meeting next Monday. So there's no way we're going to meet before Friday.
We really need the opportunity if possible, if they can work something out to get the answer, otherwise, it's going to really affect the financing.
Is there a possibility of some type of approval subject to certain conditions being met?
Without knowing what those conditions are going to be, I don't know how we do that. The conditions right now are too large to where I think I don't really feel comfortable with that.
Now, it's not really reasonable, but it's not impossible to try to get the work done in time for the
We greatly appreciate it.
And I would feel uncomfortable without, in this case, without board, all the
Yeah.
workers knowing what's going on.
So Monday is a DDA meeting, but it's also a town center meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to meet together as a body.
No, I understand, so we just have to carve out time on that agenda in order to put it in there.
Okay.
Well, can we add it to the agenda that's publicized?
There
Yeah,
has
that's been publicized.
Right.
But we will. Yeah,
You can do it.
just put it on the
You have
agenda.
time. I think we should do
I think
that.
that's the most prudent thing to do. And my recommendation is for the two of y'all to get together, and you've got 4 days, and
Greatly appreciate it.
Not trying to
That's-
confuse
that's-
it.
I hate to have a Friday deadline, but I'm willing to get away.
We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We greatly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Is that doable?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that. Thank you, guys. All right. Next on the agenda is public comment. Any public here?
Who wants to go to this?
All right, there being no public comment, do we have a motion to enter executive session?
Do we need to for real estate matter? Motion to.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Motion
we
to
do.
enter in executive session for the discussion of real estate matter.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we'll go to executive session. All right, we're back from
That's
executive
not.
session. Do we have a motion